Hey, welcome everyone to the seventh, can you believe this? 7 Mentoring and Parenting Teen Summits. We are so ecstatic to be here today. I'm glad that you're here with us. Whenever you're watching this, if you're watching the replay, if you're a subscriber, if you are watching it live with us right now, we're super excited. This is a dream. To be able to give knowledge and inspiration to mentors, parents, aunts, uncles, caring adults, to be able to impact your teens in a better way, to see our future truly thrive, not just survive, thrive. And that's what it's all about. I hope that we're all showing up for our teens in order for them to thrive, to be better than we are now, to have a better life than we did. You know, today's summit is all about entrepreneurship. And as I was researching and preparing for the summit, I didn't realize how many teen entrepreneurs are out there. I didn't realize how many teens are making millions of dollars every year from something that they enjoy doing, from making clothing to providing services, to making sweets and cakes. I mean, as I'm researching this, there's a plethora of teens that are doing something that they enjoy doing something that they love, something that's intrinsically motivating to them, and making a lot of money with it and having impact with that money and that intrinsic motivation. Think about that. Is there anything better to do in life than be able to live your dream, be financially secure, and impact others with that dream and that financial security? That's what we should be striving for ourselves as adults, but certainly we need to be showing up for our teens to push and encourage them to be able to do that, to be able to live out a dream. And I know that sometimes they may not want to go to college or to go to a trade school or to do this and that. And we want to push them in certain directions. We want to kind of nudge them a little bit, but we also want them to find a passion. How many lawyers are out there? How many doctors are out there? How many people are living day in and day out in a job that they absolutely can't stand? They hate it. We wake up and it's like Groundhog's Day. You remember the movie Groundhog's Day? Where he is just reliving the same day when the same scenario again and again and again. We want our teens to not do that, even if we're in that situation. And I hope that this summit today can inspire you as an adult to not be in that situation, but certainly, no matter what you're doing in your life, you chose to either mentor or have children, to mentor or have a teen. So I ask you to put your own baggage aside today, take some notes, and really show up for the teens that need you. So without further ado, I am super excited for 2 things. I'm super excited for the summit. I'm also super excited that we have sponsors for this summit. So this is the first summit. It took 7 of these for me to get sponsors, people involved, a community, right? That want to come and hug the Mentoring and Parenting Teen Summits. So our first sponsor that I want to announce is Earl Phelan. He has PLA Academy. He has 5 different academies, 5 different schools. And he also has a university that he's launching this year. And Earl's one of my friends, for one, but he's also a sponsor for the summit. And I want to thank Earl and the rest of the team that he has for being involved with the summit and supporting the summit. It means a lot. So I want to encourage you all to go out to phalenAcademies.org, okay? Phalen Academies, so Phalen academies.org. And we're going to see tickers at the bottom of this. We'll put Phalen Academies right here. We'll put the URL so you can go visit the website. Also, Right Place TV. So Lydia Wright is actually one of the speakers today, but she's also our media sponsor for this summit and other summits. We have relationships with our sponsors, right? So Right Place TV, WRIGHTPLACE TV, absolutely amazing. She has all sorts of different TV shows and on different platforms. It was just amazing when I was researching Dr. Wright and all of the stuff that she's doing. It's just absolutely amazing. So I encourage you, again, I'm going to put it there, her URL, to go and visit her website. Lastly, CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates, and CASA is near and dear to my heart. CASA of Ocean County is also one of our sponsors for this event, and I'm absolutely thrilled. So if you are in New Jersey, we're going to put the link to their website right there, and you want to get involved with some youth that are in foster care, youth from babies just born all the way up to teens that are 18, 19 years old. If you want to get involved and you're in the New Jersey area, I encourage you to please, boom, go right there. Ask for the director, Miss Yarzan, and she'll treat you right, and she's going to give you all the training and all the tools in order to have some impact with some youth that are involved with foster care. So without further ado, those are our sponsors, and now I want to get the summit started. I want to get those notepads out, right? Get something to write without, because this is going to be another amazing summit, I guarantee. So without further ado, let's go over to Roz. Roz is our MC for today. Roz, what's going on, brother?
Thank you so much, Sensei Dave. Looking forward to this event. I'm really excited for all these amazing speakers. Sensei Dave, thank you for putting this amazing event together, bringing us all together to share, to inspire, to motivate parents and teens. So without further ado, we're just going to kick this thing off, because if you're watching, I want you guys to remember you can always hit us up on social media, #Summit Events. Make sure to tag your friends, share, get this out there, because the only way we're going to be able to make the impact that we all are here to do is to have us collectively come together, collaborate, and get our messages out there. So I'd like to have the opportunity to bring together our first speaker this afternoon, morning, wherever you are. And we're going to get into this real quick. It's an amazing opportunity. I'm excited because this is my first time ever being able to MC an event. I've been at many but now I get to kind of have some fun and just kind of watch everyone and take some amazing notes. Like Sensei Dave said, if you're watching this, get your pen, your paper out, because our first speaker is a powerhouse speaker. I'm excited to hear her speak, and I'm going to read her bio. What does it take to be first? Way back in 2005, Verdi started her journey as the first South African musician with a tenacious foresight to go online for crowdfunding for her album. She didn't just do that. 15 years later, her career is glittered with accolades, bringing in all kinds of amazing things, doing things. In 2021, Verdi was her biggest accomplishment. She was the #1 public speaker for the Toastmasters. She was the world champion of public speaking and the 6th overall as a female. How powerful is that? You guys know that you guys are going to get amazing speaker this afternoon. So without further ado, I like to bring Verdi Price to the stage. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm outstanding. And you are coming. Let everyone know, where are you? Because right now you are actually stretching yourself. Where are you coming in from?
I'm coming in from Cape Town, South Africa, on the slopes of Table Mountain. It's 9 o'clock at night here, but I'm excited to be with you.
Absolutely. Well, the floor is yours. We look forward to an amazing presentation. Take it away.
Thank you, Raz. And just a really big warm welcome to everyone. Amazing to be with you all today. And I'm so excited because this is such an important event, such an important topic. So I want to ask some questions, and I'm going to see if we've got an interactive chat or not. But if not, I will just keep going. But I love to have these events be interactive so that we feel like we're in the room together, that we're sharing ideas as if we were right here with each other. So I want to ask a simple question. I want you to weigh in right now. If you've got big goals, big dreams, big hopes for yourself, for the teens in your life, just put yes, absolutely, that's me, big dreams, whatever you want to put in the chat. But let's just get a sense of how many dreams and hopes and desires do we have in the room today. Let's see. I'm getting a yes, yes, yes coming in. There's some yeses, absolutely. Okay, so we've got lots of dreams, lots of hopes, and that's what makes us human. We've got these things that we aspire to, these things that we want to make happen. But now comes the next question. When you think about that goal, that dream, that hope, that teen that maybe you're worried about and that you're hoping the best possible outcome is going to happen for them, do you ever feel concerned, worried that it's not going to happen? What if it doesn't come true? What if there's obstacles? What if things get in my way, get in their way? And let's just get a sense of do we have some fears here along with those dreams? Do we have some fears and concerns? And I see some yeses coming in. I see people saying yes, lots of fears. Okay, so again, this is what makes us human. We have these dreams and we have these fears, but what I want you to think about is that with those dreams and with those fears, there always comes a choice. And we have two choices in life at any given time. You can either react to what's happening, and there's always things happening and they're coming at you, and we don't always have control over that, or you can create what happens. So you can react to what's happening, or you can create what happens because of you. So, which one do you think is the better answer? I know this maybe sounds like a stupid question, but let's just pop it in the chat. Which is a better option, to react to what's happening or to create what happens? And I mean, I think I know what we're going to say here. I see people say, yeah, absolutely. Creates coming in. Right. So that's what we know is the answer. But here's the next question. What do you do more of on a daily basis? Do you react or do you create? This is always when I need to see if I've got some honest people in the room. And yeah, react. So reacting is human. It's what makes us survive life. Okay. So if you've said, oh, I react, is there something wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. It means that you're human. We are designed to react to what's happening to us to survive life. Oncoming bus, jump out the way. That's a good reaction. But life gets magical. And we thrive in life when we create what happens because of us. And so my passion is helping people move from merely surviving and reacting to their circumstances to thriving and creating their circumstances. And that's the journey that I want to go on with you today, is how do we move from reacting to creating and from surviving to thriving? Now, what I've seen and what I've realized is whether you're reacting or creating, it really comes down to, at the end of the day, mindset. Our mindset plays such a role in the results that we're getting in our lives. And I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Carol Dweck's work on mindset, but I just want to recap it now because I think it's important that we bear it in mind, especially when we're thinking about entrepreneurship and living our best life and realizing our dreams. Our mindset, your mindset, my mindset, all of our mindsets matters. So in Carol Dweck's work on mindset, she talks about these two mindsets, and they're very, very different, just like reacting and creating are very different. On the one hand, we have what we can call a fixed mindset. And if we're coming at life with a fixed mindset, even if we've got those goals and those hopes and those dreams, we're going to have a ceiling on what we think is possible for us. And for a lot of people in difficult circumstances, it's easy to put that ceiling on our potential. It's a belief that, obstacles are things I can't get around, challenges are things I can't overcome. What's the point of putting in effort if I'm not going to do well? What if I fail? Failure is permanent. And if other people succeed, oh, that's challenging to me. In fact, I'm going to play an even smaller game. And when I get feedback and I don't like it, I'm not going to listen. So a fixed mindset really puts a ceiling on our capabilities. And maybe as I'm sharing this, you might be reflecting for yourself where your mindset shows up in areas of your life, or where you see this limiting someone else's potential. And going, how do we move that? How do we move from reacting with a fixed mindset to creating with a growth mindset? Now, for me, a growth mindset is this belief that I can learn, I can grow, I can change. I am able to conquer my obstacles, to overcome my fears, to navigate around my concerns. These are the people that when they see an obstacle, they go, how am I going to get around it? And they encounter a challenge and they keep pushing forward. This is a mindset that takes feedback, digests it, implements it, and gets results. And this is a mindset that is inspired by the success of others. Now, from this space, anything is possible. From this space, very little is possible. And again, whether we like it or not, we are often hardwired to play a safe game and to be in that reacting space. And our work in our own personal journeys, but also as coaches and mentors, is to move people into that growth space so that they can create what happens because of them. Now, I've been working in organizations and with individuals for the last 15 years. And while I go on my own journey of understanding my own fixed mindset in certain areas of my life and seeing where I've grown, what I see when I work with people is that you can very quickly tell if they're fixed and reacting or growing and creating by two simple things. They're either asking two questions or they're giving one answer. Okay. And now when I take you through these questions and these answers, you're going to go, oh my word, I ask those questions all the time. And I probably give that answer more than I should. So just as a question, I just want to check. I'm sure I've got some parents in the room because we're here talking about teens. What is that frustrating question that children ask all the time from when they learn to speak till they're about 6 years old? There is a one-word question that they ask all the time that drives you nuts. If you can just pop that in the chat. I want to see if we're all, are we there yet? I like that. That is also a very irritating question, but I'm looking for that one-word question. It's an incessant question. My 3-year-old never stops asking it. I'm waiting for it to come in. It's going to come in any moment because anyone that's ever had a child knows that special sound of why, why, and they will keep asking why. They will drive you mad. Okay, so I know the parents are like, oh my word, yes, that's exactly what they ask all the time. Then something changes. By the time they're teenagers, and this I'm sure you come up against a lot, they change that question. They add another word. They move from asking why to going, why not? It's kind of like, I've heard your rules, I've heard your explanations, and now I am pushing back. And I'm just going to challenge everything you're saying. I want to do it my way. Don't tell me how it's done. In fact, it gets a little bit fixed in a way, but they're also trying to grow. They're trying to challenge. So those two questions can drive us mad. And as a result, by the time we are adults, until we die, what is that one word answer that we give when we are asked why and why not? And see if anyone can pop that in the chat. See if you know, and if you've heard yourself say it or if someone said it to you. When you ask why or you ask why not, what is that frustrating question or answer that gets given? Because because I said so, because those are the rules, because that's how it's done, because it's safer this way, because we've always done it like that, because that's the way the world works, that's what our religion says, that's how our culture works. And before you know it, because becomes the box. It becomes this comfort zone that we survive life from. It becomes a reaction to what's happening, and it's all the rules that keep us safe. Why and why not is where the magic happens. Why and why not is where we challenge those becauses and we start going, why not do it differently? Why not try a new way of doing things? Why not push? Why are we doing it this way? How can we change it? And so when we ask anyone to think outside the box, and this is what we always have to do if we're wanting to make those dreams you were saying yes to earlier come true, we have to be able to think outside the box. But I want you to consider that actually what you're needing to think outside of is your because. Whatever your rules are as to why you can or can't do something is what is putting a lid on your capabilities and the people around you. So the magic happens when we start asking why and why not. Now, the reason I am so passionate about this is I have personally experienced what it's like to be stuck in a fixed mindset with a lot of becauses. And the place I was stuck was in my career. I had huge dreams of being an international singer and songwriter. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to tour every country I could. I wanted to top the charts. I wanted to be interviewed by Oprah. But it's a tough industry. And in South Africa, it's even tougher. We have a very small music industry, and I just wasn't getting where I wanted to get. And I was getting increasingly frustrated, especially when I discovered that it was going to cost me in South African money, it's 300,000 Rand. At the time, it was probably the equivalent of 30 or $40,000 to record my debut album. I didn't have the money, and I could not see a way around that huge barrier between where I was and where I wanted to be. And so I did what I think a lot of people do when they hit a barrier. I moaned. I was one of those people who would arrive at a party with their problem, and then I would find some unfortunate person and I would spend the whole night telling them how hard my life was. I know that you've met someone like this before. I hope it's not you, but I was that person. I drove people mad. And eventually I got to the point of going, you know what? I either need to give up, I need to walk away from this dream, or I need to get creative, because that is always your choice. You can give up or you can get creative. And I know if we were in the room together right now and I asked you which is the better choice, everyone would shout, creative, let's get creative. Now, a few years ago, I was doing a version of this talk at a series of schools around South Africa, and I would always ask this question of these teenagers. I said, life's going to give you obstacles. It's going to be hard. You're going to hit tough times and challenges, and you have a choice. You can give up or you can. And I'd have a couple of hundred teens shouting, "Get creative!" It was wonderful. It was such a lovely moment. But a few weeks into the tour, I got to a school where kids came from the harder side of life. These kids were facing challenges. They came from broken homes. And you could see from the way they walked in, they were kind of all looking at me going, who does this girl think she is coming to talk to us about our dreams? Like, really, what is this about? And I could feel the resistance in the room. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna talk from the heart. I'm gonna tell them my story, and maybe I can motivate them to get out there and create their lives. But when I got to this part of the talk and I said, if life gives you obstacles, you can give up or you can. And the one kid just piped up out of 600 children and went, sell drugs. Yeah, that's why we're here, because that cannot be a creative option for a teenager. And it is why I'm passionate about going, how do we help people to think differently? Now, backtracking a little bit to my story, I wasn't going to sell drugs to raise the money for my album. I needed to think differently. I needed to change the way I was looking at the problems I was facing. And so what I did was I went and I sat down with my sister, Kay. Kay is 12 years older than me, and she's my mentor. She's my coach. And if I've ever got a problem, she's who I go to. And we sat down for coffee. And I was about to start my normal sob story of how hard it was to be a musician. And then I just said, I can't anymore. I have to stop complaining. I need to get creative. And she said, thank goodness, because I don't want to hear you moaning anymore. You've got to have those honest people in your life. And she shared with me that she just read a book called The Six Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono. And if you're familiar with Edward de Bono, you'll know he's considered the father of modern thinking. He coined the term lateral thinking back in the 70s. And his work is incredible for changing the way you think, for shifting your mindset into a creative space. So we thought, wow, let's do this. Let's brainstorm. We had a napkin. She didn't even have the book with her. She just had the basic principles and said, let's think differently about this money you don't have and this obstacle between where you are and where you want to be. And so I want to take you through the thinking just so you can get a sense of how easy it is to turn a problem on its head and create an opportunity in the face of an obstacle. So the first thing we realized was that I was so obsessed with my problem that I wasn't asking the right questions. I didn't have a clear desired outcome. I knew what I didn't want, but I wasn't getting clear on what I wanted. And so what we did was we started with a desired outcome question. And ideally, a desired outcome question has got to have a how in it, not a why. So why is good for interrogating things, for getting creative. But if you want to have a solution, you have to say, how can I? So we looked at what I wanted to achieve and the extraordinary question I realized I needed to ask. Because bottom line is, if you don't ask extraordinary questions, you're not going to get extraordinary answers. Safe questions are going to get safe answers. So you have to ask questions that stretch you, that push you, that get you out of your comfort zone. So my extraordinary desired outcome question was, how do I record and market an album without going into debt? So it was a big question, a lot of stretch. We now step back and we looked at my current reality, kind of the facts. Where am I right now? That's where I want to go, but where am I right now? And there was facts I liked and facts that I didn't. So I was based in South Africa. The music industry wasn't very big here. I had 200 songs written. I had a band. I had a website. I didn't have the money. It was a fact. I didn't know how you got music on the radio. I didn't know how you got music into the stores. And suddenly I could see my situation a lot clearer. I could see what I knew and I could see what I didn't know, which also gave me action steps to try and solve those gaps in my knowledge. Having assessed my current reality, Kay then said, Bertie, why don't you check into a heart space? How are you feeling about this problem? This was easy for me. I'd been feeling a lot about it. But the trick, and this is one of Edward de Bono's very important tools, is that when you share an emotion, you name it, you don't explain it. Because the minute we start explaining it, we get into the drama and we stop thinking clearly. So I just named how I felt: frustrated, scared, anxious, afraid, irritated. There was a long list of emotions. Just saying them out loud, getting them out of my head and onto a piece of paper, freed up my mind to start thinking better. So having checked in on that heart space, Kay then asked me to look in the direction of what's working, what's going well in your life. And that was not easy for me to do. I was so attached to how difficult things were that I wasn't seeing any positives. But when she asked me to look in the direction of positives, it's like, I have a band, my songs are written, I have a website, there's less competition in South Africa. And I was like, oh, my feelings were already changing. So when she asked me to look in the direction of what wasn't working, and I was very good at this, I've been doing this for a long time, even though it was like, I don't have the money, South African music doesn't sell, if I borrow the money, I'll be in debt, it didn't feel as overwhelming as it had before. And so it's critical when you're helping someone think through a problem, look at the strengths first and then look at what their obstacles are, because this keeps the mind open and ready to think differently. We'd done this for all of 15, 20 minutes. And it was the first time in a few years I could see my problem mapped out on a piece of paper. It was an incredible experience. And so when she asked me to look in a new direction of if anything was possible, what innovative ideas do you have on how you could solve your problem? I had the freedom to think differently. And I looked at everything I'd written and I said, you know what? Just because I don't have the money and that was a fact and it was a negative, why not leverage off the fact my songs are written. I have a band, I have a website. I've lived in the US, in Florida, I've lived in England, I've lived in South Africa. I've got a big network. What if I ask everyone I know to go onto my website and buy my album before I record it? What if I sell something that doesn't exist? And she was a great thinking partner. And again, when you're working and coaching with someone, you've got to push that thinking. She said, great. How would that work? What would that look like? I said, well, they'll buy my album. Their names will go on my website. They can tell me what songs to record. And she said, what else? So she pushed my thinking. She didn't just let me stop at my first idea. And I said, well, what else? That's quite different. No one's ever done anything like that before. What if I give 10% to charity? And she said, yes, which charities? And I said, well, I want to give money to people opposing women abuse. It's a big charity in South Africa. We have huge problems with women empowerment in our country. I said, I want to give money to women helping uplift other women. And I want to give money to uplifting other artists, not the only one struggling to get ahead. And suddenly we had this crazy idea. 30 minutes of separating our thinking out, having a desired outcome question, looking at the current reality, acknowledging this heart space, the feelings that were kind of clouding my thinking, looking at what was working, looking at what wasn't working. Suddenly had a way forward to make that dream a reality. Going to sell an album that doesn't exist. People are going to create it with me, and we're going to give 10% to charity. Now I was faced with a choice. Because ideas are wonderful, but they have no value. You can write an idea down, but if you don't have the courage to step outside your front door and flirt with failure, you're never going to discover what you're capable of. Luckily, I was pretty fired up. So my first action was to share the idea. And two things happened. Everyone in the music industry said, Verity, that will never happen, because that's not how music is funded. So I want to put this into context. This was 2005. This was before Facebook had even come to South Africa. So what I was doing right then was called crazy. We now call it crowdfunding. I'm sure you're going, but that sounds like crowdfunding. In 2005, it was called crazy, and the whole music industry said to me it would never work. Luckily for me, everyone who wasn't in the music industry said, why not? We love it. How can we help you? And my journey and my project started to unfold. Now, it was a few weeks into having had the idea that I had one of my first really significant experiences on the journey. I was at a dinner party. I was still in the sharing phase of my idea. And I was sitting next to a guy whose name was Guy, funnily enough. And Guy said to me, what do you do? I said, well, I'm a singer and I'm a songwriter. And he said, do you have an album? People always would ask that if you're a singer. And I said, well, I don't, Guy, but I've had this idea. And as I was telling him about my crazy idea, he reached into his pocket, he pulled out his money, and he said, I want to take the first copy. And I looked at him and I looked at the money, because I knew when I took that money, I was going to have to see this idea through. And then I said to him, Guy, like, why are you buying my album? You haven't even heard me sing. And he said, Verity, isn't that the entire point of your project? So I said, yes, it is. Thank you. And he was my first customer, my first fan, and my biggest teacher. In that moment, I learned from Guy that your word creates your world. I really want you to think about this. Your word creates the world. The way you speak about a dream, a goal, a desire, what you're trying to achieve, that influences who shows up to help you get there. And when we are coaching or enabling someone to move towards a desired outcome that excites them, we also have to empower them to be able to share that vision with the people around them so that they have that support, that network to move them towards that dream. And the more I told people that I was selling an album that didn't exist, the more I sold an album that didn't exist. And very long story short, over 2,000 people in 25 countries bought that album. I released it in 2008. It was a much longer journey that I had expected it to be, but I released it in 2008. They were thrilled. I got sent pictures and poems and postcards from people all around the world. I even received a proposal from a man in Edinburgh, but I think he wanted to make more than an album. So I said, no, thank you. But I really got to feel what it is to have a community and a network that believe in what you're trying to do. And as a result of them saying yes to my dream, I was able to contribute, and I'm just trying to think of it in dollars terms, probably about $5,000 to the charity, which is a lot of money in South Africa. I was able to buy fax machines and linen and crockery for women's shelters. I was able to pay for young singers to record their demos and get started in their careers. In fact, one of them went on to win. I've got a hair that's driving me mad here, everyone. And one of them went on to become one of the best young jazz artists in South Africa. And it was absolutely extraordinary to see what happened. I think by now you're all realizing you do know I'm not a famous pop star. You haven't seen me on Oprah. You know I haven't toured the world. I'm just going to address that elephant in the room. I didn't crack it as a musician. What happened was I got so much media for this crazy idea. It was featured all over the world on podcasts, on blogs, on websites, front page of the newspaper in Buenos Aires. I have no idea how. Documentaries. People loved the thinking. And I suddenly was being invited to speak all over the world about thinking differently, change your thinking to change your results. And I'd say, "Can I bring my band?" And they'd say, "No, we just want to hear how we can think differently." And that was a bit of a challenge because I had a big dream. I wanted to be a pop star. And to be honest, my ego was pretty attached to that. It was like, come on, I'm trying to lift the ceiling here. I'm trying to be a pop star. But the more I was being invited to speak, the more I was being invited to train people how to think differently, how to innovate. I realized that that was my soul. My soul's calling was to do that. And when I started listening to my soul's calling, my life journey got so much easier. And that was a huge moment and a huge lesson for me. And especially, I actually got sent a photograph of Edward de Bono, this incredible man who wrote this book, The Six Thinking Hats, holding a copy of my album. And I was like looking at this going, oh my word, here's an author he's written more than 85 books and he's holding proof that I used his tools and I've acted on an idea and it worked. And, wow. He then invited my sister Kay and I to teach his work. We have spent the last 10 years traveling around South Africa, empowering the youth, empowering organizations to think differently about their obstacles and to get to those desired outcomes that they have in place. And so I always say to people, if 30 minutes of sitting down with one person, my sister, and thinking differently about a problem by mapping it out and looking at it from one direction at a time could radically transform my life. How could it transform yours? How could it transform someone that you're coaching and mentoring to help them just see their problem in a new light so that they see the possibilities that are available to them, that maybe when the emotions are in the way and those stuck beliefs are limiting us that we can't see? So the bottom line for me here is that if you don't design your future, someone or something else is going to design it for you. And I really want you to take this in. And this is a Edward de Bono quote. If you don't design your future, someone or something else is going to design it for you. And the bottom line is, I only came across these tools in my 30s. I can't imagine what my life would have looked like if, as a teenager, I'd been able to look at this road that's got twists and turns and delays and detours. That's life. But if I'd been able to look at it knowing that I had to have a desired outcome, that I needed to be asking extraordinary questions that stretched me, and then I needed to have someone thinking with me to assess the current reality, get, those facts. They are sometimes, but they don't have to limit us. It's just what is. Then get clear on being able to name my emotions without getting caught in the drama of them. Being able to spend time going, what are the strengths I can leverage that are going to move me towards that dream? And yeah, what are the pitfalls that I need to be aware of that maybe with some help and support I can overcome? And once I've got all of that thought through, what are the radical ideas, the exciting ideas that are going to get me to where I'm going? And this is another thing to think about when you're coaching someone to overcome a problem and come up with an exciting idea. It is far easier to tame a wild idea than it is to make a boring idea interesting. I'm just going to say that again. It is far easier to tame a wild idea than it is to make a boring idea interesting. And so, as coaches, as supporters, as cheerleaders, we have to push people's thinking and say, if anything was possible, if money wasn't a problem, if gravity didn't exist, what would you do? And rather get to that huge, amazing, colorful, exciting idea. And then once you've had it, you can go, okay, now let's look at how do we make this feasible so we can start. So these are the capabilities that we have for ourselves. You said yes to your own dreams at the start of this talk, but also to helping someone else realize their dream. My sister Kay was my biggest cheerleader in that journey. She didn't have to do the hard yards, but she was there at the start to help me think through my problem. And then she was there to keep me on course when I was losing faith and to keep me in that growth mindset instead of going back to the fear that I couldn't do it. She moved me from an I can't to an I can. And that's what we do as coaches. That's what we do as mentors. That's what we do as cheerleaders. We move people from an I can't to an I can, from a react to a create, and from a survive to a thrive. And so that's my invitation to each and every one of you. And in the exciting work that you do and the teams that you're impacting, to take that on board, to say, how do I keep moving them into this space of possibilities? Yes, we'll acknowledge there are going to be pitfalls, there are going to be potholes, there are going to be problems. But how do we keep in that positive mind where we're always looking to that desired outcome and we're moving towards it? 3 things that are going to help that journey is when people have ideas that excite them, they have passion. And when you have passion, that's when you persevere. I mean, Sensei Dave knows all about this. If you follow his story, it's unbelievable. But when that passion gets ignited in us by someone who sees more in us than we see in ourselves, or by an idea that just burns this excitement inside of us, that passion fuels us. That passion helps us persevere. It lets us be patient when things are taking time. So you have to have passion. I always think of the Wright brothers. You've got to be passionate about building, a plane out of bicycle parts, but they believed in that vision and they made that vision a reality. So you have to have passion. The second thing you have to have, and that you will not get anywhere in life without, is community. We're here today as a community. The people you support are part of that community. And if you can help someone build a community around them that believes in them, that is listening to their word as it creates their world and going, I want to get you there, that community will fuel success. And the third thing, the game changer, certainly for me, was gratitude. When I started to get grateful for my journey, especially a project selling an album that doesn't exist online 17 years ago, when no one had done that before, was not easy. And it was easy to go back to, oh, this is taking too long and I'm not getting there and I'm failing. Maybe I should give up. And one day, in one of those spaces, I was sitting in my room and I was feeling sorry for myself. I went to a box of letters that I always have letters from my family. And there was a letter that my dad had written to me. He used to write me letters throughout my childhood. He was one of my biggest mentors. And at 16, when I was really feeling sorry for myself, he'd left a letter under my door in my bedroom. And I found his letter, and right at the end of it, he said, my message to you, my darling daughter, is work on an attitude of gratitude. Polish your goals daily and watch for a miracle. He always used to sign his letters, watch for a miracle. He's no longer with me, but he was one of my greatest mentors and one of my greatest coaches. And that reminder to work on an attitude of gratitude turned my journey around. I got off my bed, I went down to my laptop, and I read the names. I'd sold 400 copies of my album at that point, and I was thinking, why haven't I sold? Where's the 1,600 I haven't sold? And I focused on the 400 that were there. I got grateful. I sent people thank you notes. I wrote a blog saying how grateful I was, and I just stepped into gratitude. And the amazing thing that happened, people started sharing those shares. Suddenly, more people were buying. And every time I leaned back into gratitude, my life changed. And so, with those 3 things, if we can ignite passion in ourselves and in the people around us, if we can build communities of people who believe in where we're going and want to help us get there, and if we can be grateful for the journey, And if we can help someone become grateful for their journey, regardless of the detours and delays that they might be experiencing, that's when you can help yourself and the people you care about get to those desired outcomes, those dreams, those goals that, yes, sometimes frighten us, but we are able to create what happens because of us. And that's when the magic happens. It has been such a pleasure to be with you all. And if there's any questions, I would love to hear them. Thank you.
Woo-hoo-hoo! What do we say, Rod? Boom, boom,
Absolutely.
baby. Come on, Verity.
That was amazing, Verdi. Thank you so much. I mean, just passion, community, gratitude. I can. For those who are watching, show some love to Verdi Price, man. That was just amazing. I took so many notes. I mean, one of the things I just want to share: name it, don't explain it. What's up with that? Name it, don't explain it. Thank you so much.
What?
Cincy Dave, you want to say anything?
To thrive. What is that? Come on, you guys. If you're not inspired right now, you're never going to be inspired. Forget it. Forget it. Forget it. I'm telling you. Yo, so Verity, I got a question. This is in relation to resiliency. How did you stay resilient after failing and trying again and failing and trying again? At what point do you just say, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good enough. I don't think I'm the right one. That my why's not big enough to have to endure all of this. At what point? Or what point did you say, you know what? I'm worth it. I'm going to figure it out. For me, it's others have done it, and I'm just as capable. I'm just as awesome. I'm just as beautiful. I'm just as handsome. I'm just as amazing. I'm talking about me right now. Anyway. No. At what point did you say, you know what? This isn't, I can't do it. And what was the turning point?
So I've had a few of those points, Dave. I'm not going to lie. I am someone who I'm predisposed to anxiety and depression. And so I have that mixture in me. And what was interesting is I have the big dreams, I have the big goals, and then I have a lot of insecurity, a lot of self-doubt, and I can be prone to be a victim. So I'm just going to be honest about that.
Okay.
So the things that were turning points for me, I've mentioned my sister Kay. I've also got an incredible brother Murray, and they've always been such big points in my life that I've got someone I can lean on and that I could talk through those fears. But definitely that thinking session with Kay, where she was also like, stop being a victim. Yes, get creative. Let's look at this differently. Let's change the way you're thinking about it. That got me so excited because instead of being stuck in the problem and dwelling on the problem, I got excited about the potential. I knew that it was going to be hard work, but I was more excited about the future than I was about the past. And that's what I think moves us forward. You have to be more emotionally attached to a possible future than you are to a certain past. That's what moves us forward. So that excitement got me going, and then gratitude kept me going, because I had to keep reminding myself, say, thank you for who is here. Look at I had people in South America sending me money in an envelope with a tourist. It said Verity South Africa. I am Verity.com. They didn't have any of my details, but they couldn't buy on my website for some reason. This amazing man, Fernando, sent it, $23 in an envelope, and the woman came and found me. I mean, I didn't know people like that existed until I put the idea out there, and that kept me going. The second thing was having a cause bigger than myself. So I wanted to make a difference for the charities, and I actually realized the days I didn't want to get out of bed for myself, I was getting out of bed for them. And so I think we have to have a higher cause for what we're doing.
Love it. Yeah, I agree. Your why has to be bigger than your why not, huh?
Yeah.
Verity, we thank you. We love you. We appreciate your wisdom, your heart, your kindness, your energy, and everything. We're going to let you sleep. I know it's getting a little late. It's late here too in Greece, but I'm a little I'm young at heart.
I'm young at heart. It's just that I use my bedroom and my poor husband's stuck
I know
outside.
he's gonna kill you. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna come find me in Greece. Okay, we love you again. Thank you so much for being here. I can't thank you enough. Everyone, make sure you reach out to Verity. Go find her on her website, www.imverity.com. Okay, make sure you go and just say hi to her. She loves the plethora of emails. I know I do. At
I
least.
do. I do.
All right. Thanks, Verity. You have a good one, huh? Sleep well.
Thank you. And keep doing your beautiful work. We can change
Oh.
so many lives.
I'm trying every day. Roz, over to you, brother. It's all yours.
Oh man, wow. Well, I am pumped up, and I know that if you are watching, you are pumped up. So we have another amazing speaker I'm about to bring to you, Coach Cordell. He is an international speaker, an author, a resilience coach who has successfully helped to build resilient teens, people all over the world. He is highly energetic and outgoing individual. He's beat the odds in overcoming many hardships in his childhood, living in homeless shelters, watching his mother battle drug addiction and abusive relationships. At a young age, he struggled to fit in, causing him to make some bad decisions along the way. He has also begun to recognize his potential. His confidence grew exponentially. That's when he decided to use his circumstances as an opportunity to not be a crutch. Coach Cordell became a leader in his community amongst his peers, inspiring others to do the same. His positive impact and energy influences others to be their absolute best. Cordell endures a very difficult childhood, but through his resiliency, he was able to persevere and learn from his experiences. I'd like to bring to the stage our friend, Coach Cordell. Coach, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. Boom. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Bring it, brother.
Hey, so first I want to say, Dave, you kind of set me up, man. You set me up going behind Verity. You going behind a world champion speaker, bro. You set me up. But you know what? I'm going to come with it too because I'm the hype man of motivation. Let's go. Let's go. So first, before we get to what I want to talk about today, I kind of want to give you a backstory of who is Coach Cordell. So Coach Cordell was a boy that lived a life without his mom for a very long time. I was a boy that watched his mom go through drug addictions and abusive relationships. I was the boy that lived in a homeless shelter with no memories of family vacations or the typical love you see on TV. I was the boy that never had a family photo. I was the boy that really didn't know what the love of a mother felt like. And I was the boy that could have easily been lost. But that boy grew up and he became a man. And that man became me, Coach Cordell. See, a lot of people look at me in disbelief. I do not look like or act like the circumstances of my childhood. I should have been a statistic destined for jail, drugs, or even dead. But at a very young age, I knew I was different. I knew I was meant to be here. And I knew I had potential. But I couldn't just figure it out. What was my potential? What am I really here for? So now, as I grew up to become a man and went through life, I know my purpose. And my purpose is to help motivate and inspire other people to reach their potential, to let them know that they are meant to be here. And now we got to make your here make a difference. So when Dave came to me and wanted to talk about, he gave me topics to talk about. And I was looking and I was thinking, entrepreneurship, youth entrepreneurship, that right there just made me like, yeah, I want to go into that. So entrepreneurship is like the new fad right now. Everybody's doing it. You got influencers on social media. You got PDFs on become an entrepreneur in 7 steps. Like all these things is going on to become an entrepreneur. But then I wanted to really dig deep into what is an entrepreneur. So dictionary.com says it's a person who organizes and manages an enterprise, especially a business, usually considerable a risk. And then also they give you the 5 important skills needed to be an entrepreneur: communication, sales, focus, ability to learn, and business strategy. So I look back at my life growing up. My father had a high school diploma. My mother, she graduated college at the age of 50. So I didn't have the same resources that some other kids might have if their parents own their own business. So I'm looking at, wow, you got people that really start from the bottom, and you got people really start from the top. So when it comes to youth entrepreneurship, how do we know when they are ready? And I came up with this. I think number one, we need to stop asking them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Instead, ask, who are you? And I'm not talking about the name your parents gave you. I want to know, who are you? What is something you are really good at without even trying? What's something that makes you happy when you're in an action of doing it? What are your fears? Remember, most of the fears that from a youth starts in their environment. When I'm talking about parents, the adults they be around, their friends, don't do that. You better get down. You might break your neck. Don't cross that street that fast. This has happened to you. Oh, I don't think that's smart enough. I think you should just go to school. So when you ask them, what are your fears? What's something you really struggle with? So much can be achieved by tapping into their strengths. Look for a spark. Once they know who they are, then you can move forward as an entrepreneur. If one of their fears is communicating, so they say a great entrepreneur has great communication skills. So I wouldn't put so much emphasis on making this kid become a communicator. I'm going to look what they're really good at without even trying and focusing on that. Focusing on that part, making him the best at that. And then put people around him that's good at all them other different skills. That's what we need to really focus on when it comes to creating a youth entrepreneur. So I got a quick story about my daughters. I got twin daughters that's 8 years old. They asked us for a Barbie house. I'm like, first of all, it's not your birthday and it's not Christmas. So we're not getting a Barbie house. So they decided to come together, take the money out their piggy banks, went to Dollar Tree and got all the supplies they need to do a lemonade stand. Put their money together, got the cups, got the poster, did everything. So their method was, we're going to go get this ourselves. So if they're not going to do it, okay, bet. We're going to go out here and do this. So they set up in front of the house, 50 cents lemonade. And the results of that, they made $100. And the smart thing they did, they didn't go out there with no change. So if you're coming with $5, I guess you're just going to have to give them $5 because they don't have no change. So the possibilities, they made their goal, but if their goal was higher, they could have taken that $100 and reinvested it and kept growing their capital. But the lesson is just takes having a goal and putting a plan to action. Sometimes we need to see this in our kids to encourage them and think of possibilities. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, builds strength in our youth. It encouraged independent thinking. So they decided, okay, let's put our money together and let's go get what we need. That builds life skills. So they already seen how to move accordingly when something, if it's not going to go this way, okay, I'll go right and go the other way. It improves problem solving. They said, you know what? My parents ain't going to get it for me, so we're going to do it ourselves. And it allows them to tap into their strength. So when you look at it, what are the steps to our youth becoming entrepreneurs? And I think it's a simple 1, 2, 3. Number one, ask who they are. Number two, ask what their goals are and find their fit. And my favorite one is number 3, help keeping their imagination alive. Albert Einstein said, logic will get you from A to B. Imaginations will take you everywhere. As we get older, we start losing our imagination. We start losing our creativity. And sometimes it's hard to get that back. You kind of got to rewire your brain to bring back that imagination and creativity. So I think it's very important for us as mentors, as parents, as educators, as foster care parents, to make sure we're making sure they're keeping that positivity and that imagination alive. And a couple of things you can do for their imagination is read to them, talk to them, tell old stories, explore new ideas, practice problem solving. And small steps like that will help keep that imagination alive. It's not about what they can make, but instead what they can do. We can help them dream or reach their dreams. Remember, it's about what they can bring to the table. If they want to make chairs or have a lawn business, don't worry how many other businesses are out there. Help them make their business and their product unique. Think about all the chairs in the world. Let's go back to that. You got folding chairs, you got dining room table chairs, you got computer chairs. It's so many different chairs in this world, but did that one person that thought about a folding chair, did he say, man, there's already chairs in this world, so I don't want to create another one? No. He took a uniqueness of him, his created, like, I ain't never seen a folding chair before, so let me find out how to create a folding chair. And he actually made it work. So it's not about it's too crowded, because we all have our own unique purpose and gifts that no one else has. So it don't matter how many singers in the world. It don't matter how many businesses in the world. It don't matter how many computers, cell phones in the world. Listen, it's all about how you make this product unique. Help them create a plan to execute. We can offer our support. So when kids give up on dreams, I want you to really think about this. When they give up on their dreams, it is often because someone didn't encourage them or told them they couldn't do it. At the end of the day. So we have to be a cheerleader. Even if that's just a Barbie dream house. It's about achieving their goals and not making millions. Like so many kids during the pandemic became entrepreneurs. Some had bake sales, others became YouTube influencers. I think one boy made bow ties for dogs. When you talk about imagination and using your creativity on that, come on now. So remember, it's about the effort, not the product. At the end of the day, being an entrepreneur is about bringing value to your life and the lives of others. Kids feel a sense of accomplishments when they succeed. So why hold them back just because they are young? Many entrepreneurs who were very successful reached a greater success because they were allowed to dream early. Man, when you talk about dreaming early, Steve Jobs, founders of Macintosh and Apple, he began while he was in high school making landlines, phones that offer free long distance in high school. So when you think about using imagination and using the value of how can I bring value to other people? And so by the time Steve was 20, he and his partner was in his garage making the Macintosh computer, where eventually became Apple today. I want you to know, I don't need 20 minutes to really get what I need across, but I want you guys to really feel this. Our purpose on this earth is to bring our unique value to the surface and share with others around us. So I think it's very important. So let's help our youth bring their value to surface and reach heights that are unimaginable. It starts with us. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Awesome, my brother. Awesome. Well, do you mind if I just throw a question to you real quick?
Yes, yeah.
Because I love the fact that you said bring your unique value. And, you know, our stories are very similar. But I know that when I was in a dark place growing up without a father and my mom addicted to, you know, lots of things, I just didn't know how to find that uniqueness because there was no one to kind of help pull that out of me. If someone's watching right now, in addition to what you shared, can you just tell us a little bit about how do you find that uniqueness in you when there's no one around you telling you that you are unique?
I can say the way I found it was through all the situations I've been through growing up. I was the kid that always had a smile on his face, right? What's crazy, I had my own, when I was in the homeless shelter, we had our own bus that dropped me off at school. I was the only kid that was on that bus. I felt like I was a king. Knowing I'm coming from this situation, but I have my own bus. What can you say to me? You guys sharing a bus, but I have my own bus. So growing up and realizing, man, I'm taking the worst situations of life and bringing light to it. Mm. So I knew right there I was different. But now, like I said, growing up helped me bring that uniqueness out. So me being around certain people, being around reading books, finding mentors that I can not physically touch, but I can read and watch YouTube videos and really try to figure out who am I. I think that's the most important thing on this earth, not who I want to be, who am I first? And then after that, I can figure out where I fit into. Just like when I was saying about the 5 skills of a great entrepreneur. I don't have all them 5 skills, but I do have one. I'm a great speaker. I'm a great communicator. But you know what? I'm going to put everybody else around me that's good at that other stuff, business strategy, finances, or organizing, right? One of my favorite things is I didn't go to Harvard, but the people that work for me did. You know what I'm saying? So that's my mindset of just living and finding that uniqueness about me and helping other people try to find that uniqueness.
I love that, man. That is powerful. I think that when we can find out, you said, who am I? That clarity gives us the ability to really start to unpack who we are, but finding that uniqueness and then embracing it. You have to embrace your situation, not look at it, and say, oh, this is woe me. I'm a victim. I want to be a victor, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your talk, everything. Where's the best place to find Coach Cordell?
You can go to CoachCordell.com. You can go on Instagram at Coach_Cordell27. You can find me on Facebook at Coach Cordell. You can find me on YouTube at Coach Cordell27. I actually got uniqueness. When we're talking about that, I'm the only motivational speaker that has a cartoon out. I have a cartoon that looks just like me, and we have affirmation videos that just made it to Nigeria for my guy Ola. Let's go. We out here doing it. So, hey, use your value, use your uniqueness, and be different. Be different. That's all I got to say, man.
Awesome, brother. Well, you have a wonderful afternoon, rest of your day. Coach Cordell, everybody. Give him a round of applause. Check him out. We definitely are excited for everything that he just shared with you. Be unique, step into your greatness. And I'm ready to bring our next amazing speaker to the stage. And we're going to keep it moving. I have the pleasure to introduce Jody Greenwald, is a multi-passionate social entrepreneur, change maker, nonprofit leader, podcast host, connector, certified professional coach, consultant, trainer, and speaker. Well, I don't know. How are we going to follow all of that? That's a lot. She's worked with leadership positions.
Rod, I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you that I changed it up, I think. So we're gonna get Chris on first. We're gonna get Chris on, and then we're gonna get my bad. That's Dave.
Jody, we're gonna bring Jody up. Sorry about that.
Jody would shoot me because she knows that she's not on yet. So totally my bad. Totally my bad. Won't we introduce Chris, huh?
Definitely. I was like, what's going on here? No worries. We're going to keep it moving. That's what happens when you're live. I'm okay with that. But I get the pleasure now to change gears and bring on Chris D.T. Gordon, faith father. He's a father, faithful father, husband, a father of 3 online middle school special ed teacher, professional speaker, podcast host, co-author, runner, martial artist, and a pop culture geek. We got to ask him about that. He's a survivor of, I can't even say it. I don't even know what that is, but he's going to have to tell us. I'm like, wow, that's something I've never seen before. Who's used his story and message to inspire others, adopt the attitude of gratitude tag, overcoming their challenges with gratitude, positivity, resilience, and make the world a better place. Chris D.T. Gordon, welcome to the stage. How you doing, my friend?
Thanks, Roz. I'm so excited to be here. And you're probably wondering, why is this guy wearing a cape? Well, that's because entrepreneurs are superheroes. Think about it. We take on challenges that other people are scared to even look at. We take those opportunities to step up and face fear and overcome our own to help make the world a better place. And I have to say that I'm so excited to be here today to talk about this in my cape. I just love a good cape, don't you? Because like superheroes, entrepreneurs have origin stories. I know Dave has an origin story, Roz, Coach Cordell, Verity. We all have an origin story, even though, spoiler alert, we don't have superpowers. An origin story is that event that makes us step up and really think about who we are and how we're going to react to the situation. And when we do that, we have to remember this thing. Where your thoughts go, your mind and body will follow. I'm going to say that one more time. Where your thoughts go, your mind and body will follow. Now, I can go on and on about other superheroes, but I have my own origin story to tell. And it starts on March 18th, 2015. On that date, I was helping my wife, Becky, get our kids ready for school. As an online teacher, I'm privileged with being at home while they are at school in their physical building. So I help load the kids into the van and she drives them off. I was helping my younger son, Seth, get to the van, though he was being a little slow. I mean, he's 2 years old, so he toddled a lot. I picked him up and I started flying him back and forth to the garage. Unfortunately, I scraped the back of my right hand on my garage wall. I looked at it, and to quote my favorite movie of recent memory, "'Tis but a scratch." I put him into the car seat. I kissed them all goodbye. And as they went on their way, I went on my way back into the house to start my day of teaching. 3 days later, I wake up. I have a lacrosse ball-sized bump on my right elbow. I went to the doctor. They said, it might be bursitis, might be something else. Keep an eye on it and let us know if something happens. Within 10 hours, that bump grew and encompassed my right arm. So it tripled in size. I looked like the Incredible Hulk in mid-transformation. Though that's not a usual status for me. So Becky drove me to the emergency room. They admitted me. And that next morning, that attending doctor came up to me and said something I will never forget. She said, "Mr. Gordon, your situation is beyond us. We can do nothing more for you here. Where do you want to go?" Well, I said Mayo, as in the Mayo Clinic. So they quickly flew me from New Ulm, Minnesota, where I live, to Rochester, Minnesota. And it's there at the St. Mary's Hospital in the Mayo Clinic system where they diagnosed me with necrotizing fasciitis. There you go, Roz. It's also known as flesh-eating bacteria. And at the time that they had diagnosed me, I had about a 30% chance of living. So they quickly got me into surgery, and I started my journey. Though I started it very slowly because I was in a coma. The doctors had to remove the flesh from my right arm, shoulder, chest, and back. And in doing so, they found that the infection had gone so far into my arm, they would have to amputate unless they took a flap of skin from my left thigh and placed it in my right hand and forearm. You see this right here? This is my leg on my hand, on my arm and hand. Since this is my thigh and my hand, I call this my thand. Copyright pending. But now I have a big hole in my leg. So they had to take out a muscle and then put knobs to tighten the wound over time so it would actually close. Then they had to get skin grafts from my thighs and my back to place on the exposed areas. I woke up 5 days later with a brand new body, but unfortunately, a new set of problems. All that flesh-eating bacteria is gone, but now I was left with personal bacteria. Questions to which I had no answers. What was my body going to be able to do when it fully recovered, if it fully recovered? How was I going to be able to relate to my wife, my kids, my family? How was I going to be able to pay the bills? It turns out that this is a $1 million arm. And as a teacher, I don't have $1 million just lying around. Well, that personal bacteria thankfully did not have time to ruminate, because Becky, during one of her daily visits, started telling me about all the wonderful things our neighbors were doing in New Ulm and beyond. Our local neighbors were shoveling our driveways and snow blowing our walkways. Friends in Rochester were stopping by Becky's parents' house where they were staying while I was in the hospital, dropping off food, toys, playing with the kids, something I could not do. Friends of Becky's even started a GoFundMe account, which raised enough money so I could make up for the lost wages I had incurred because of my hospitalization. When Becky told me all of these things, all that personal bacteria washed away. And I was left with what I now call the attitude of gratitude, or TAG for short. The first question I asked myself was, what is something good in my life? Now, when we ask ourselves, what is good in my life, we tend to think of family, friends, our home, our job, perhaps. I thought of other things. I thought of small, seemingly insignificant parts of our lives that bring us that daily dose of joy. I thought of the show Daredevil that had just been released on Netflix. As you can imagine, I like me some superheroes, and that's a fantastic show to binge watch when you're recovering from surgeries. I also appreciated that the nurse's station was right across the hall from my hospital bed. And then there's the hospital pizza. I don't know about you and your hospital food likes or dislikes, but the hospital pizza at St. Mary's was chef's kiss. Phenomenal. And I do this today. In fact, I have a challenge for you called the 5 and 10. I want you to take 10 seconds and see if you can pick out at least 5 things around you that you like or appreciate. I'm going to do it right now. I appreciate that light. I appreciate that piggy bank. I appreciate that water glass. I appreciate my switch. And I appreciate that door. And now I'm going to tell you why I like those things. The light helps you see me, even though I'm a little pasty, I admit. The piggy bank holds all the change that I can use to pay for certain things and maybe cash in for dollar bills. The water glass keeps me hydrated. My Nintendo Switch keeps me entertained when I have time for entertainment. And the door keeps me safe from noise and, I don't know, children chasing me. But it's helpful. And so the more I look around and I see things that I appreciate, I realize I am rich. Not in a market value kind of way, but in a intrinsic wealth kind of way. And the more that I see this richness around me, all this wealth, the more I realize I have a lot to be thankful for. And so that's T, thinking about the good things in your life. Then I looked at the A, acknowledging the appreciated. Who in my life do I appreciate? Of course, when I ask myself that question, the big groups come to mind: family, friends, people who share our faith, coworkers, neighbors. I especially thought of the nurses at St. Mary's in the Mayo system, not only because they're world-class nurses, but because they were actually kind to me, and they kicked me in the rear end once in a while when I needed it. But they became my friends, and I greatly appreciate that friendship because it stayed with me well beyond my hospital release. And now I have another challenge for you. This is called the triple A. This is where you actively augment your appreciation. And so what you do is you first take someone out of the social circle that you share, and then don't worry, you're not voting them off or they're not sus or anything. And then you look at all the special ways this person benefits the world in a positive manner. Finally, you put them back into that social circle that you share, and you realize you have a relationship with this wonderful person. I'm going to use my wife as an example. Yes, Becky is my wife, my partner, my best friend. But she's also a loving mother, a fantastic daughter and sister, a brilliant teacher, a well-read historian, a great athlete, a benefit to the community as a whole. She's all of those things. And now I get to put her back into that social circle that we share. Not only is she all those things, now she's also my wife, my partner, my best friend to boot. And I ask you not only to use this with your partner or your best friend, but use this with people that you may not know very well, or maybe people that challenge you sometimes. We sometimes look at people for the way they treat us or the way they challenge us. But if we look at everyone with how they benefit the world, I think we would find that they are more valued than we sometimes put on them because of a situation. And you don't have to be best friends with everyone, but you can be friendly with everyone. And I think that helps make the world a better place. And so that is the A in TAG, acknowledging the appreciated. And finally, there's the G, giving others a reason to be grateful. Oh, the G's right here. And in the hospital, there wasn't a lot I could do. I was busy recovering. However, when I started getting out and being more active after my discharge, I started mowing my neighbor's lawn when they were gone, or snow blowing their driveway when they were on vacation. We actually have some snowbirds next to us. And so when they leave for the south, I snow blow their driveway and when it needs it, for at least the month of February. I also pick up trash when I go running, and I go I pick up trash on the road, in the drive or the sidewalk, in someone's yard, as long as we're not being too trespassy. And then there's the classic opening a door for someone. And if there's nothing else we've learned from the pandemic, it's that at any point, someone could be having the worst day of their life. But if we stop what we're doing and open the door for them, even for a second or two, we are showing that person that we are willing to stop what we're doing to help them with what they're doing. And you never know what kind of value that effort could have on someone. And so I challenge you to look for ways you can help someone out. The ways I gave, the examples I gave, cost me nothing. They cost me zero monies. But to someone who is in need of a smile or a kind deed, they could be priceless. And so by playing tag, I have felt that not only am I more grateful and positive, but I am also more resilient. And because of that resilience, I have gone on to earn my first degree black belt in Taekwondo. I am now training for the Boston Marathon. I've given myself about 8 more years because I'm not really good at the marathon. So it's going to take me a while to build up my endurance and my marathon running legs, but I'll get there. And I've become a professional speaker, and I'm speaking to people around the world about how a greater sense of gratitude and resilience can make their world a better place. And I want to ask you now, how are you going to use your origin story? I'm not going to stand here and say that my life is perfect because I practice tag. I have to tell you, I'll be honest, right now, I have an online store where I make shirts like this sweatshirt that I'm very close to closing because right now I'm working through some things and I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't. And right now, the online store isn't really helping me out right now in terms of speaking. I'm sure I'll come back to it because I love being able to be creative with the merchandise. But sometimes you got to focus. And sometimes things don't work out as perfectly as you thought, and you got to pivot. I also am a dad and a husband, which means I make mistakes at home. And so I got to learn how to be the best dad and husband I can be. And there's always pressures going on around me. So my life is not perfect by any means. However, by consistently pushing myself to be the best, by being diligent in my practice and being perseverant in facing adversity, I might be perfect in some regards once in a while, but I will always be great. And that's what I ask of you. I ask you to take your origin story and see how you can change it, change the narrative, start looking at things around you and see value in them. Not market value, but how you value them for how they help you. Look at the people around you and appreciate them for not only how they treat you, but how they treat the world around them. And then give others a reason to be grateful. Look for ways to make someone's day a little better. Because like I said before, we never know who could be having the best day, worst day of their life. And you could make it a little better at least. So come play tag with me. Because I don't know about you, but playing tag by yourself is boring and more than a little embarrassing. So go out there, think of all the good things in your life, acknowledge those that you appreciate, and give others a reason to be grateful, and become the superhero that this world needs. Thank you very much.
Wow, Chris. Thanks, brother. That is so inspirational. You're very motivational, you know? And I'm sure Mr. Boom Fantastic was motivated too, man. I think a lot of people just got a lot from this. What do you think, Russ?
Oh man, and, first and foremost, Chris, thank you for your story and sharing. I love the tag, the energy behind that. And I just wanted to throw a question out there for you because, I know there's going to be a lot of parents who are watching this and they have kids who may be going through something with a disability or a setback or a challenge. I know I grew up with my right leg short and I have no quad or hamstring. What would you tell a parent about developing and pulling out their own origin story to inspire their kid to take it to the next level for themselves in school or in life?
That's a great question, Roz. Well, I think that as parents, we are the first teachers. And if I were to take inspiration from my cape, the first superheroes that our kids have. And the more real we can make life for them, and to a certain extent, I think it'll help them develop more of that resilience that we need them to have to face life's challenges. Because as you're right, we parents, we have imperfections. And if we show our kids, hey, this is the problem I'm dealing with, this is how I'm dealing with it. And show them that you don't have to like the challenge, but you can appreciate how it makes you better. I think that is key because That way, kids realize that challenges will be there. There's nothing you can't do to make all the challenges go away. But if you could see the challenge for what it really is and not dramatize it or make it worse than it actually is, I think kids will be able to problem solve a lot faster than if we try to focus on the problem and not the solution.
I love that. I love that. And do you advise parents to actually utilize the 5 and 10? How often would you advise a parent to utilize that to help a kid maybe just if they're distracted or dealing with anxiety, take them out of that state of fight or flight and focus on something else?
I think that's a great question. I love how you reframed that to deal with anxiety. That's fantastic, Roz. Well, I think like anything, gratitude is a muscle. It's you have to work at it to get better at it. Just by saying, "Hey, I like this light" once is not going to make you a gratitude superhero. But by practicing it every day, you're going to find that you're going to see more value around you than if you just looked at all the problems that you had. Again, problems are going to disappear, but your gratitude can increase and help you overcome those problems more readily.
Awesome. Well, thank you, my friend. I really do appreciate everything you did and shared, your story, everything. Where's the best place for someone who's watching us to connect with you, Chris?
Well, Roz, I like to keep things simple. So it's all at Chris DT Gordon, chrisdtgordon.com. You can reach out to me at chrisdtgordon.com, on Facebook, chrisdtgordon.com, and LinkedIn and Instagram is the same, at Chris DT Gordon.
Awesome. Well, you're a superhero to us all. Thank you so much for your time and energy today. Everybody, make sure to go connect with Chris. And if you're watching, make sure that you have time to hashtag Summit Events. Let your friends and family know what we're doing here today, trying to inspire and motivate everybody. I'm about to bring my next speaker, take 2. We're going to make sure that Jody has the proper intro. So I'm going to start it off for you guys. Jody Grunwald is a multi-passionate social entrepreneur, change maker, nonprofit leader, podcast host, connector, certified professional coach, consultant, trainer, and speaker. She's worked in leadership positions for multiple non-for-profit organizations beginning in 2005, including the executive director of the American Heart Association, vice president of the development of American Lung Association, and of the Mid-Atlantic. Please give a round of applause for Jody Grunwald. Jody, how you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you, Roz?
Oh, I'm having an amazing time. All the speakers have been great, and I'm excited and pumped to hear your talk.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And they have all been great. And so much of what they have said resonates with me. Some of it is even in my what I was going to say. So I'm making sure to not replicate, because they're also intelligent and in what they're sharing, and so many takeaways. So thank you so much, Roz.
Absolutely.
I'm going to start out with something that many people do not realize, and that is every single thing we do every single day matters, makes a difference. And whether we're 10 or we are 50 or we're 97, whatever we do every single day makes a difference. And we many times forget about that. The speakers that were on today, if you take a little nugget of wisdom from them, they have left an imprint on you. So we have the same opportunity to do that every time we walk into a store, every time we talk to a child, and every time a child talks to us, we also have the opportunity to learn from them. And not all the time do we turn that on. We miss out a lot on the how are yous in the day. Think about how many times a day somebody asks you how you are. How many times a day do you ask your children how their school day was? And we throw the answer away. It was great. It's the most intimate question that we can ask someone. And that is something that I'm really working on sharing with people, because it's very important that we dig a little deeper. When we have the most intimate question of how are you, and then yet we'll talk more about our favorite restaurant. So going back to when you go into that Starbucks, when you go talk to the guy who's pumping gas, if you live in an area where they do pump gas in New Jersey, they do. A lot of times I wasn't making eye contact with people. And eye contact, because we're all on social, media all the time and our phones are right next to us, we miss out on that connective piece. And it's so, so valuable. And so when I told somebody at Starbucks that they were a change maker, they said to me, that me, I'm a change maker. I'm serving coffee. I go, yeah, but every time I come in here, I feel connected. You smile at me, you talk to me, you ask me how my day is, and you look at me when you ask that question. You're not throwing the question away, but I may be throwing the answer away. So it's really about being present. And that's really hard to do sometimes because there's so much outside influences out there. And I myself at this age is finally being present. It's taken a long time to learn how to do that. And I'm seeing youth who are living a lot in that fantasy world because of the fact is that the real world seems difficult. It seems difficult for all of us. We all just came out of a lot of things that have been going on. And the other thing that that happens to us very early on in our lives, and this is something where I'll share a personal story of mine as well, is that we get caught up a lot in judgment. So we don't do the things we want to do because we are afraid of being judged. Public speaking is one of the biggest fears for many people. In kids, many of them have to take public speaking in 11th grade. I think it's in high school. It is so stressful for them because there's an audience that's going to sit there and judge, just like many of you may be doing right now. Her talk is good, her talk isn't good. Everybody is able to give criticism from behind something, but it's tough when you're the one sitting up there. We don't realize how many times a day we judge, and we don't like to be judged. So as Roz was saying, I am a coach, and I ask my clients to keep a judgment journal. And when I talk to youth or adults, I say the same thing. Think about how many times you judge someone in a day. How much time is wasted on that in something that you could be doing that's has more opportunity for you. We waste a lot of time on not being present, going back to that, and also judging others. And it's really important that we lift others up. Connection is key to everything. As a kid, I was the shyest child. I struggled very much so. I was what they would call the nerd. I didn't talk a lot, and I was a little bit ahead of myself when I did. So I got made fun of a lot. I was definitely bullied as a kid, and I got beat up when I was 13 years old. It was horrific and horrible, and it was all because I didn't want to befriend someone who was bullying other people. So she figured she would beat me up too. And I lost a bit my 9th grade because of that. So you can imagine switching schools, going from 8th grade to 9th, being a very shy kid, worrying about judgment. And all I wanted to do was hide under the desk when I was able to finally go back to school after being physically hurt. And I learned very quickly that if I just kept quiet, people couldn't judge me. But the problem was that you wind up living in this world that becomes it's so internal. And as time went on, little by little, and I will say little by little, I had one friend. And they say that's all you need, right? Is one friend, someone to be your confidant. And I know that is the case for my both of my kids and my niece, watching them as they have grown, is that if you can just have that one person who you connect with that can lift you up. And that judgment piece carries over for all of us. And as I got older, of course, you learn here and there how to maneuver, right? So you kind of test the water a little bit, and you see, okay, if I speak up a little bit, am I going to be shot down? And that did absolutely happen. But somehow I'm here today as a public speaker, and I'm doing all the things that I'm doing because, and Verity said it before, but I say it a little differently, because my why became greater than my how. When I realized that the fact is, if I keep my voice down and the things that are important to me as I got older, I realized that there's somebody out there, one person that may really need the message. And if I don't share that message, then what's going to happen is that person may not be able to excel. They may not feel comfortable doing what I'm doing, but yet they have a real connection to it. And entrepreneurship, whether you're a child or you're an adult, it is scary. There really is. There's a lot of books out there, but everybody's doing things differently. And we all bring our own personalities. I was shyer. Now I'm more outgoing. We change. Who I was when I was 20 is not who I am now at 50. We change every single day. We ebb and flow through different energy levels all day long. And what's important is that we connect to who we are in that moment. So there was a moment. I can't tell you when the moment was, but there was a moment that gave me a little bit of hope that I didn't have to be so quiet anymore. And then it started to build. And then I started to realize it. And then I had kids. So that kind of brought me out a little bit more of my shell. So there's going to be something that helps things click into place. And it might not happen right away. It might not be that it's loud and proud, whatever that is, wherever you want to go on your journey. But if you pay attention and if you are present, and if you do not allow judgment to drive you as a human, incredible things can manifest. And as children, when we're kids, we're really not taught that, right? And many of us, the stories that we've heard today, including myself, we've all been through such tough times. But yet we're standing here on the stage because Sensei Dave brought us here and brought us together because we're connected. So what I want to share in my homework assignment for everybody who's listening is, how are you connecting to yourself? And how can you better connect to the people around you by being present? Pushing away the judgment. If you push judgment away, the opportunity for people to bring their vulnerability is incredible. And I have done that through Changemakers. So I have a foundation. I'm the CEO of a not-for-profit organization. I never started one. My father passed away. My sister and I decided that after my background being a nonprofit, and the work that she has done, that we were going to come together and we were going to start an organization. And lo and behold, here I was working for those big box organizations that Roz mentioned, to now being what was considered the CEO of a lemonade stand, because nobody knew who we were and nobody wanted to give me a moment of their time. And that is what entrepreneurism is. You never have any idea what the road is going to be like, but if you don't put your head down and keep focused on your why, the how, it goes away. And I know that sounds so trite and easy, but I believed in it enough that I wasn't going to let anything get in my way. And when I talk to people, they would say to me, well, where did that all come from? I can't tell you. All I know is that I believed enough that in my dad's name, that nonprofit needed to excel. And we're 5 years, celebrating 5 years now. And then in December 2020, perspective was lost, because March 2020, when a lot of things happened, everybody was all losing perspective because it was a scary world out there. And I wanted to talk to the change makers, those who were disrupting the status quo, those who believed that their why had to continue to be greater than their how, so that they could do the work that they needed to do. So I started interviewing. I started a podcast. I had no idea how to start a podcast. I had no idea how to start a YouTube channel. My kids actually decided, when I asked them to help me, they said, Mom, you told us to go Google things before. If you can't figure it out, come back to us. But you know what? It's okay. Go Google, let us know. So I stayed up till 4 a.m. They helped me in the end when I had questions. But that's the other advice I do want to give here, is that find those people you can surround yourself with that will be willing to lift you up. And if you keep hitting those who say no, they're not supposed to be part of your journey. And that's for anyone, whether you're a child trying to get into the in crowd, but yet the fact is that they're not letting you in, you're not supposed to be there. Whether you're an adult who's trying to really do something different and go to your second career, and you're just not finding it easily, doesn't mean you should give up. It just means you haven't surrounded yourself with the right people yet. And the right people came my way. I don't want to say happenstance. I do believe that we manifest those things. I knew that I needed to do what I could to bring out their stories. Sensei Dave was one of my guests. And I love interviewing the change makers and putting their stories out there. The podcast has now been downloaded in over 48 countries and territories, over 500 cities around the world. I don't say that to brag. I say that because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And I met incredible people along the journey, one step at a time, because I allowed myself to be vulnerable. I didn't allow people to judge me. They could feel free to do that. But at the end of the day, I didn't take it in. That their judgment is really more about them than it is about me. And also I became very present. And that's the homework assignment that I'm saying for everybody, to figure out where your connections are. Who are you connected to? And who, when they ring your phone, drags your energy down. Those aren't the people you're supposed to surround yourself with. It's very, very, very important to ensure that you're in this positive mind zone, because unfortunately, when you're not, cortisol and things that are released within our body, that negativity causes disease and dis-ease. And so it takes away our resiliency. The last thing I want to mention, because I am very good on keeping to my time, is the importance of mentorship. I asked for my very first mentor, like asked someone to be my mentor officially in my 40s. And he asked me, what does that mean? I said, I want to take your brain and download it into my brain, please. Obviously, that can't happen. But he spent a lot of time with me. He bought me books and we talked a lot. You don't have to ask somebody to be your mentor to make it so official. But if you go to those people who know more than you, and it's okay that they do, because you probably have expertise in some other place. No matter whether you're somebody who is young or older, it doesn't matter. Mentorship is so valuable and so, so important. We learn so much from other people. And that's why Changemakers is an international piece, because we don't have to just stick with who our next door neighbors are or who is in the same county as us here in New Jersey. And we do that a lot. We only surround ourselves with those who are local because it's easy. Find people who aren't local. Find someone else who's outside of your norm. Ask them questions. People like to talk about themselves. People like to share their experiences. And when you do that, you learn from them. And that's what's vital in connection and creating a space where you feel safe. The more we practice connecting, the better we get at it. And the more we're able to push judgment down and keep that judgment journal. How many times when you wake up in the morning, what is it that you're thinking of already where you're judging something or someone or yourself? We're our biggest critics. So we really need to ensure that we're not going to go out to the world feeling less than. So how do you do that? I mean, for me, I believe in meditation. I have a dance party in your kitchen, whatever it is that's going to lift you up. What is your song? What is your song that creates this incredible feeling for you? Listen to it before you leave the house. Get connected to yourself so that you can connect with others. And the other thing is that for anybody who wants to start a business, whether it's somebody young or someone older, just find the person who you want to emulate and ask them for a 5-minute conversation. It is so I have to tell you, I have done that on LinkedIn, and 99.9% of the time, all I want to do is ask you a question because I would love to interview you. I'm not asking you for money. I'm not asking you for anything. I just want to share your story. When you come from a place of service, incredible things can happen. And so I'm really good on time because I want to make sure that I stick with that. But I want to just say thank you to Sensei Dave. You can definitely find me at todayisthedayliveit.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram at todayisthedayliveit.com, Jody Grinwald on LinkedIn. And connection is my platform, because without that feeling of being connected, we're very lonely. And humans need connection from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed. Thanks.
Boom. Awesome job, Jody. Got a couple questions for you. Thank you. You were amazingly on time, as you said you would be. So we're excited about that. We're talking about entrepreneurship and finding a mentor. And you told a little bit about that in your story. But I know for me, I've had my mentors were books, audios, online courses, because I've never had the opportunity. What would you, if someone were watching this and they were like, how do I find a mentor? Like you said, you went and you asked, was it the first time? Was it successful? Like, what was the steps that you took in order to get your mentor in place?
Well, I went to a conference, and so that the person was standing in front of, it was right after I had gotten my coaching certification, and what he was sharing, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be him. The energy, the excitement, the room was up in arms. It was incredible. And I'm like, and that's when I went over to him and I introduced myself. It took a lot of guts though, Roz. Like, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. But I will tell you too, I agree with you. Your books and podcasts and all those things can be mentors, but there's nothing like a conversation. So my suggestion is research. Research, who is it? And sometimes it could be this author that you feel like they're so far away, they're never going to talk to me. That is not true. As I said, I have been able to reach out to people on LinkedIn, Facebook, when you're not asking them to pay for something, or, if you're just coming from this place that I really am just trying to better myself and you're doing this incredible work, would you give me 15 minutes? I mean, what kind of person would turn around and say no? And if they do, this is what I truly believe, they're not supposed to be on your journey.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. And you mentioned have a dance party for yourself and mindfulness. Like, I work with a lot of parents who are extremely busy, as we all are, right? And so, like, how do you like inspire your clients to say, you know what, I need to take time for self-care, to find that song that's going to give, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. What do you tell someone who says, I just don't have enough time, Jody?
So I look at what they're doing. So if they have drive time, right? If they have drive time, then they have time, because during that drive time, don't be you shouldn't be Zooming, and you should, and say no to that, conference call. And I don't suggest it, but don't close your eyes. But I have listened to meditations and they say don't do it, but I do it. And I know I'm going to stay awake because I need the message, right? So there's manifestation and those kinds of things. Listen to podcasts or audiobooks, right? If you're a book reader, but you don't have time to read the book, and you like to flip the pages, but you can't find the time, when you're driving an hour to the next meeting, throw the audiobook on. 15 minutes. You need 15 minutes. And the truth is, nobody's coming to your door to tell you it's time for a 15-minute break. You are the one who's in charge. So are you going to give over your entire life to the work and everything else, or are you going to fill your bucket too? And Roz, just last thing on that, I was the one who worked 14-hour days when I worked for American Heart and American Lung, and I didn't believe that I had time. But that was a little bit of martyrism, right? And it's a little bit of being a control freak. And it's also a great way to not take care of yourself. You have to give yourself permission, and you're the only person who can do that.
I love that. Give yourself permission to have your own dance party. Jody, thank you so much. Can you just tell us the name of your podcast one more time?
Yes. It's Today is the Day Changemakers. Again, it's Today is the Day Changemakers. And you can find it on all streaming sites and the YouTube channel. And please subscribe. We also have a yearly conference that Dave is a part of this year. It's the Today is the Day International Changemakers Conference. That'll be on March 23rd, 2023. And you can find more information at todayisthedayliveit.com.
Boom. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great weekend. And I'm sure everybody who got the pleasure to see and hear you speak got so much value. So have a wonderful one. And now we're going to transition to our final speaker of the day and the event. But before we get into that, I want to make sure that you guys don't forget #Summit Events. Go there, tag us. If you're watching the replay, #Summit Events Replay. Can't wait to see and hear all your questions. All the speakers will get access to questions. So if you have any questions for any of the speakers, drop them in the comment box below. And our final speaker is Dr. Wright. As the founder of the Right Place Studios, Dr. Wright is building Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, Apple TV channels for professionals who want to extend their reach. With a goal of 100 channels, she has currently built 25 so far. Dr. Wright is the 2019 nominee for the 47th District Woman of the Year. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear about that. Dr. Wright is a highly esteemed and notable businesswoman. She's an executive producer, host of the nationally syndicated television show, The Right Place Television, which is now in its 18th season, with bandwidth expanding over 6.5 million homes each week in Southern California. DirecTV, Channel 64, The Right Place is also seen nationally on Dish Network and Demand, spanning each of the 60 million plus homes. So without further ado, let me bring to the virtual stage Dr. Wright. Dr. Wright, how are you doing today?
I am well. Thank you so much. You are doing such a great job. I'm really enjoying watching you.
Well, thank you so much. We're excited for you. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you so much. So I want to take a minute to talk to you about mentoring youth that is at risk when it comes to mentoring them for business. So most people, when it comes to youth, they will emphasize they've got to get a good education, or they've got to get a good job. And those are all great ways to steer our youth. However, you're leaving out that youth that is truly a born entrepreneur. And while they can get a job, it's not a problem. They're not going to stay at a job because they're really an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs have a tough time holding down a job because it just doesn't go with how they're naturally built. And they'll hold down a job just long enough to get money so they can get their business started. And then you have the entrepreneurs that, yes, they will go to college, but like many of the great entrepreneurs that we know of, and you can spill the names off your lips like this, dropped out of college to do a business. And so entrepreneur kids, even if they come from disadvantaged homes, they still feel the same way about college. They get what they need out of it and they move on. So this quick talk, and I'm not going to hold you guys long, is for the parent or the mentor who notices that their kid or the kid that they're with is calculating how much money is made at different events. You know, they'll calculate how much you spent at the store. If you go to the movies, and my son, one day we were going to the movies and he was calculating how much we paid for the movies. And then he calculated how many people were sitting in the movie watching the movie. And after the movie, we saw this great kiddie movie that everybody loved. But my son was in the car talking about how there were about 150 people in there, and if everybody paid $5 because it was Tuesday and we all got the little $5 thing, and talking about how much money was generated from that one show. He was almost more interested in that than the actual movie. You know that kid. They're kind of, how much does this cost and how many do you have? And they ask a lot of questions. It's also for the parent or the mentor who is dealing with a kid that may have been caught selling candy and cookies and donuts at school. While the schools have policies against selling, they know what kids want, they know what they can do, and that's their talent. I'm going to tell you about a class that I teach earlier, but I'm in a minute, but I got one girl out of trouble because she was selling cookies at her junior high. And because this is a disadvantaged neighborhood, they immediately were saying, oh, she made those cookies at home. They're edibles. They have contraband and cannabis in them. So I went into the principal's office and I said, you know what? They're just cookies. She's a kid. She's 13. She's not a dealer. They're just cookies. Why don't you put her in my entrepreneur class and we can get rid of all of this, you know, paperwork and putting her out of school for 3 days. Like, let's not go this route. Let's go this route. And I was able to kind of de-escalate that situation. And this is for the parent or the mentor who sees a kid that can go through things and kind of quickly get disinterested. It is not ADHD. It is not lack of discipline. Entrepreneur kids can get the juice out of the lemon and move right along. They don't need to be there for a really long time. It gets boring for them. They are very aware, hyper aware. And if they come from a disadvantaged, I work with homeless children, McKinney-Vento homeless, as well as actual homeless. They're hyper vigilant. They can get the situation quickly. You don't need to keep selling them over and over and over again. Like, they can get it and move on. And so you've got to pace yourself with that. You've got to be ready for that. So if you have a kid that's kind of impatient, let's move it along. Let's get to the next thing. It's not ADHD. It may be that they are truly an entrepreneur in their heart. And I just want to give you a few tips on how to raise them, how to mentor them, that'll make it easier on them and easier on you. I'm Dr. Letitia Wright. I work with Stand Up for Kids, where I have a program. I teach kids who are at risk of homelessness and homeless on how to start a business. We work with that entrepreneur kid. Also built into the program is we have services available. We offer different things and we make sure that they eat. We make sure that they're fed. There's different things that go along with the program. So it's a little bit more than just doing that. But at the end of the program, we have real business people come in and they pitch to them so they can get money for this business that they have created. So it's a real business. I love teaching young teens because their ideas are so great. It's just a lot of fun and I just truly enjoy it. It's one of the most enjoyable bits of my life that I've had. And looking back, you could have never told me I would have been driving to Orange County to teach a class twice a week, but I absolutely loved it. So when you are working with an entrepreneur kid, they, like I said before, they don't have ADHD, but they do need to move quickly through things. You need to do presentations, teach them what they know and keep it flowing, not do repetitive things, not do the same things, and honor the fact that they have a lot of interest in a lot of different things. That is the entrepreneur mind. You also need to look at, when you're letting them start a business, let them come up with their own business. I know that there are programs where you start X business, everybody starts the same business, and it's a little bit competitive and they get into groups. Entrepreneur kids that are at risk, that while we do let them have teams of 2, but no more than 2, because we really want them to do the work. We don't want one person sitting in the group not doing work. For them, they've got to be able to see that they can do this. They don't want them to be part of a business that they have no interest in. They will not put effort into things that they're not interested in. So when you say you can think of whatever kind of business you want, we got all kinds of things. One girl was thinking of a cafe where you could pet cats. And I asked her, what problem do you solve with that? She says, well, some people, their parents won't let them have pets because they don't think they'll be responsible. We can go to cafe, sip your coffee, and pet this little cat that's there. Another young lady, her goal in her life was to be a lawyer. And so she came in that room, she had her little group, and she was going to be an attorney. She was the first child I ever had in the program to write up a contract with the kids that were going to have a cafe, telling them that they could rent a spot in her law office. They could have their coffee shop in her law office, and it was going to be this much a month. And she had to give the lawyers a discount on coffee. Her lawyers got a discount on coffee. Amazing. And she presents me this contract, this handwritten in script contract, but where everybody had to sign was yellowed out. I mean, this kid was just brilliant. These kids are doing real business things that really could fly if they have the support under them. So giving them the chance to come up with their own business idea goes a lot further than, okay, everybody, we're going to build X, or we're going to do Y, or we're going to do this. It gives them a lot more to do, a lot more. They're just a lot more interested and a lot more energized. And the third thing I want to say to you parents and mentors is, don't be surprised when they grow past you. I had one kid, he was actually a little bit older than the rest of the kids in the program. He was homeless. He was couch surfing. That is a form of homelessness. If you have a kid that sleeps on your couch for a few days and then they sleep someplace else and they're not really home, they're really homeless. And so he was couch surfing, but he called me up and he said, hey, I know I'm not formally in your class, but I want to start my own business. Can you help me? And I said, yes, I can help you. What you can do is that every week at this time, you were going to call and we're going to have a conversation and you're going to do your homework. This kid was on it. Every week he did it. What he wanted to start was, he wanted to start his own makeup company. And so I showed him what he needed to do and what needed to happen. Every week, this kid did his homework. He found a way to come up with a little bit of money to start with a few lipsticks and a few things. His brand is called Blood Kiss. It is going today. It has eye makeup to it. It's on Instagram right now. Like if you wanted to go to Instagram and you look up Blood Kiss Cosmetics, it's there. His product is there. He is growing and flourishing. And this was a few years ago. Now he's a young man on his feet and doing his thing. So when he calls me and says, yeah, I talked to an investor and he talked to me, he wanted to help me. So he gave me $6,000 and bought out my inventory at retail. And he did all of this. He didn't call me and consult me first. And it was like, part of me was like, oh, I'm so proud that he made this deal and he moved forward. But part of me was like, wow, he's moving on. He's moving on from me and onto his business. And someone else who wouldn't be so aware or being selfish, no, you need to do this, curb them in that. So when they show that first signs of growing past you, you have to let them grow. You have to let them do this. And I just want to say, working with children that are homeless and at risk of homelessness, vento homelessness, it's very rewarding to work with children at risk. Very rewarding. The stakes are very, very high because they don't have anything to fall back on. So stakes are very, very high. The terrain is very different. You have other things you have to navigate. But it's very, very rewarding. And so I just want to encourage you parents and you mentors to keep on mentoring and keep on doing your thing. And I am complete. Thank you for having me.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Wright. Do you have a few minutes?
I do. I do.
Awesome. Because I definitely your story. I love your passion. I love and I'm sure our viewers did as well. And I was that kid who went to. I grew up on Long Island. I went to Soho in the city, Chinatown, bought starter hats, brought them back to school, and upsold them, and got in a lot of trouble. I bought bubble gum and upsold it. So I learned, and I've been an entrepreneur since 2004. So I applaud the work you're doing, and what the information you shared about, for parents who's to identify these characteristics. Outside of the ones that you mentioned, are there anything else? Like, what if a kid, you can see something in him, but they may not see it in themselves? How do you inspire to pull that out of them? Because I work with a lot of teens every day, and they're lacking self-esteem. They're lacking confidence today because social media told me that I wasn't good enough because I only got one like, or I only have one follower. What would you say to a parent who sees something great in their kid?
I really think that you have to definitely make sure you connect that greatness with something in the real world. If they are an artist, remind them, hey, you're a great artist. Everybody can't do this. And give them an opportunity to be in the world where they can sell their art. We had kids selling their art and doing things on commission, someone asking them to do something and paying them for it. When you have entrepreneur kids, it's very important that actual money transact. Okay. You cannot really work with an entrepreneur kid and say, hey, you're going to get, beans instead of cash, because they are entrepreneurs. They see it coming. They know, just like you knew instinctively. No one taught you go down, get these hats and bring them back. You just clicked and you saw it, didn't you? Can you tell me the truth that nobody took you and said, look, son, this is how you can make some money? You just figured that out, didn't you?
Absolutely. I had nobody that had a business or an entrepreneur mindset in my family. I did something that I learned early as model. I saw what other people were doing. I saw how they got their start. And I was like, I have to figure a way out. And it started with a handful of hats, not a lot.
Not a lot. And so these kids can figure things out. And hopefully, I hope they get to be the great person that you have become. I hope those kids grow up. We have one kid, she got a full scholarship to Irvine University. I mean, these kids are bright. Just because you come from a poor background does not mean you're not smart, but we do have to use their intelligence. So as a parent, you've got to figure out what's going on. I thought the funniest part of the program is that it took me a couple of times to go through the program to figure out the parents had no clue what these kids were doing. So when they would get up at the end, our graduation was, the parents were there, the kids are presenting this business, and the parents are sitting there like, and I'm like, what did you think your kid's been doing all this time? Like we were, this is what we're doing. We're doing some real work, some real stuff here. And one little girl, she wanted to sell, lipstick. She can sell lipstick at the school. And her dad, after seeing her presentation, it's like, okay, I'm going to give her $100 to get her first little lipstick. Like, that meant the world to her. And so it's super important that you recognize whatever your child has. If they are an entrepreneur kid, you've got to help them connect the dots as to how it has value in the community. You instinctively knew that those hats had value, but sometimes when it's something creative, kids don't have the instinct that, oh, I'm good enough and what I have can sell. And so you have to give them opportunity to sell. They may not be as interested in school. Let me tell you, you can get a diploma with a C just like an A. The person who graduates with an A from high school gets a diploma. The person who graduates with a C in high school gets a diploma. So they don't have to be an A student. It doesn't mean that they're not smart. It can mean that they are disinterested in school. That's two different things.
Oh, wow. You hit something there so powerful, Dr. Wright. And I have to, parents, we tend to focus a lot on grades. We focus a lot on getting that A. And some of us don't have parents who had that academic background. But, how important is the grade versus the effort that the kid puts in?
Well, it can be two different things. We have a lot of things that are happening systemically. When you have a kid who is not going to a school that's well funded, there is some things that are set up against them. There is what we call, there's a way to create kind of a learned helplessness in kids by, purposely giving them work that they haven't been trained for, and now they can't do it, and then they get something that they can do, but they've already given up. They've already stopped trying. And so we know that those systemic things are in the school systems around, us. And so effort, I don't know about effort, because when we start saying how much effort you put in effort, that's good. Then we also start putting them into the workforce and making it all about effort. When you and I both know that the richest people do not get paid according to their effort. So I do want my kids to do their best, whatever their best is. And I do, I love it when kids get A's. At the same time, be careful not to tie effort to the reward, because in real life, people are not getting paid on effort. And so we don't want to confuse them about what's going to really make them successful in life, as opposed to what's going to put them in the grindstone with their head down, never really getting anywhere. So that's, I'm very and thank God my children are both very successful and they're doing well, but I'm very contrarian when it comes to that.
I absolutely love it. I mean, and I just learned something there to tweak my own message. So I appreciate you sharing that so much. Dr. Wright, where can people find out more about you and your organization?
Absolutely. I'm at rightplacetv.com. That's where I started. I also have Right Place TV channel, which is on Roku, Amazon, and Apple TV. And so we've moved into a broader expansion and market. Stand Up for Kids is a national organization for homeless children. And so anybody who wants to give nationally and help everyone everywhere. I'm in Southern California. I'm happy to talk with people about their ideas or what they want to do with their kids to help their child move on to something that's real. If you see that that kid is an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship can go with the job and with school. It doesn't have to be stepped aside when they have other interests.
Wonderful. I love the work you're doing. Such a pleasure to hear you speak today. I look forward to connecting with you in the future. Have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Wright, I'm going to bring back to the stage my good friend. But before I do that, I want to just share with you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to head over to www.summitevents.world. Make sure to connect, link up there to see the replay, hashtag Summit Events as well. I'm going to bring up my main man, Sensei Dave Armstrong, who's going to come together. He's going to land the plane for us all. He's going to make sure that you guys know exactly, if you missed any of the amazing speakers, where you can go back and find them. And if you want to be a sponsor for future events as well, I highly recommend it. Dave, how you doing, brother? Feeling good?
Oh man, I am on fire. Lightning has struck. Boom!
Boom!
What do we know? What do we know? You know, we had such an amazing summit today, and we're about done here. We're going to close up, and there's so much to reflect on. There's just so many notes, and I hope everyone that watched, that tuned in, and that will watch in the future has a really good pen and a lot of paper, because there's just so much that people can take away. I also want to include a little bit, mainly for the adults. And I want to talk a little bit about schema. What you're bringing to the table. And so it's 2022, and we are operating in a 1970s mode. Our schema, everything that we're bringing to the table is like we're still stuck in the 70s or 80s or even the 90s. And when you think about it, just the technological advances between 1990 and now have been insurmountable, unimaginable at that time. We couldn't even imagine being able to pick up a phone and video call someone on the other side of the world. That wasn't it. Raise your hand out there if you remember pen pals. If you remember being in school, a pen pal is when you wrote a letter to someone that was in China, someone that was in Greece, someone that was in Jamaica, someone that was in Africa. You wrote a letter. And then the teacher would help you send that letter to whatever country that person is in. And in about a month, you'd get a letter back. And now, if you want to pick up your phone and video call someone in Africa, which I'm going to do tomorrow morning, my boy Ola that's watching right now, me and him have to connect. You just pick up the phone and do it. Yet, listen to me. We have young entrepreneurs right now, 15, 16, 17 years old, that know more than we could imagine knowing, that are more interconnected with the world than we could have imagined being, that are more driven to see something bigger than we could have imagined being when we were that age. We couldn't imagine going out and creating a social network to go do something good, creating a team of people, 20, 30, 40 people, and just virtually doing something to impact the world, to start a business, to do something bigger than us. We couldn't imagine. We had to rely on our neighbors, our friends, our 10 people, if we're lucky, that's right around us. Our youth are interconnected with each other across this universe, across the world, across everything we know. Yet we're showing up with our 1970s schema. We're showing up telling them, hey, look, I don't know if you should really start this business, this cat petting business. That sounds a little weird. Who's going to want to pet a cat? Well, the ones that can't have a cat, the ones that live in an apartment that so desperately want to pet a cat and own a cat, but can't because they can't afford to leave that apartment. But they certainly can afford $10 a month to go pet a cat. Well, what's 10 times 100? What's 10 times 1,000? What's 10 times 1,000,000? Think about this. So I want to keep this short. I ask you to check your ego, check your schema, check yourself at the door, and realize that in 2022, there are things going on that in 1970 we couldn't even imagine. The Jetsons weren't even doing this stuff. We couldn't imagine some of the stuff that's going on right now. So our kids are smarter than we are. And that's okay. We want them to be. I want both of my kids, they're grown now, 26 and 28. I want them to be smarter than me, more successful than me, more driven than me. I want them to be. And I want you to show up wanting that for them. If you're mentoring, if you have your own kids, I want you to check your ego at the door. Check your schema that came from 1970, 1980, even 1990 at the door, and realize we're at 2022, almost 2023. Things are so much different than they were when you were a kid. So much different. There are more millionaires that are teenagers right now than ever in the history of the world. There are younger billionaires, and I don't think you can fathom what $1 billion is. $1 million is attainable. $1 billion, oh my goodness. There's more billionaires on this planet right now than there ever has been. And they're not all money driven. There are more social causes that are doing an amazing job at what they're doing. And everyone that has spoken today, think about this, has a social cause. They have a business and then they have a social cause. They have a business, and then they have a nonprofit. They have a business, and they're funneling money into something that they believe in. So money is okay. Anyways, I won't belabor this. Show up, check yourself at the door, and realize that, boy, these young people, they are amazing. I'm going to bring everybody back on just for a quick last round, just to say we love you, and we wanted to say some amazing things. Everybody's back on. So I just want to go really quickly. Is everyone on? Yes, everyone's on. Around the room, and just closing remarks. Roz, you did, man. You're going to be on the next summit, which we have Damon West on the next summit. We have some more speakers on the next summit that are huge and amazing. And you're going to be on the next summit, but you did such a good job at emceeing that I want you to MC the next summit. I'm just kidding. We'll find somebody to MC in your place, but man, you did an outstanding job. Please, won't you lead off with some closing remarks, brother?
Oh, thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure, absolutely an honor to connect with you, amazing change agents, and most importantly, just learn. That's the biggest thing that I can say is that I love having the opportunity to connect with thought leaders that are like-minded, where they're looking into the future and have a cause that means something and touches their heart. And I felt the energy in the room here. And it was a pleasure to meet you all, and I look forward to connecting with you. I'll leave everyone with this. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Helen Keller. We are all leading that adventure. We're all walking our talk and leading from the front. So thank you guys all.
Boom. Dr. Wright, please talk to us.
Thank you so much. I also vote for Roz to be the next host too, because he does the job. But I understand he can't have him doing both, but he should be your permanent person. I'm just saying.
Know, right?
That's a good partnership.
For real.
I just want to say thank you so much for connecting, Dave, and I've had a ball. I look forward to working with you on future things. I just want to tell everybody, I just want to encourage everybody to, keep your head up. I'll say what I say at the end of my shows. Ignoring one's conscience is neither safe nor right. Let's fly.
Ignoring one's conscience is neither safe nor right. I love that. I've never heard it. Woo! Chris Cordell, Coach Cordell. Sorry, I'm looking at Chris DT Gordon and then Coach Cordell. Coach, talk to us, brother. Talk to us.
Oh man, I had a great time today, man, with some amazing people, speakers, and just people in general. Like this. I have to say thank you, Dave, for putting me in positions to meet such incredible people. Like the connections that you have, honored me with. Just today, I met, new people today. So I fully take appreciation, man. I never take it for granted, and for me, I love doing what I'm doing. And I like to leave with this, out of 7.58 billion people in the world, and no one has the same fingerprint. So that right there should just put you in a whole different mindset of, I'm not supposed to be like nobody else. I am unique. And I have the opportunity to leave my fingerprint on this earth. That's how I'm going to leave it.
I love it. I love it. Yep. Jody, talk to us.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for having me on, Dave. It's been such a pleasure to meet you, work with you, and do things like this, and to meet everyone who is here. I'm walking away with lots of incredible nuggets as well. But I'll say what I say on the end of every Today's the Day Changemakers podcast, and that is today's the day. You cannot go back to yesterday, and you do not yet own tomorrow. So what small or large steps are you going to take today to get closer to your goals?
What small steps are you going to take today to get to your goals? That's all it takes is small steps. We forget that. We get so fixated on the end result, that big prize. And when we don't get it, we don't get it. I teach a course on this called Goal Setting for Youth as well as in adults. And we get so fixated, and then we get depressed because we're not making our goals. But boy, I teach something called chunking. If you chunk your goals up, you just make them micro goals. And then all of a sudden you get this dopamine rush every time you achieve one little goal and another little goal and another little goal. And before you know it, boom, as Roz says, you're at that big goal. Chris, talk to us, brother.
Well, first, Dave and Roz, I want to extend my appreciation. I know it's been a little dramatic on my end. Really quick, I had some scheduling situations that we worked around. So I greatly appreciate your flexibility. But as everyone has said, I greatly appreciate making these new connections and hearing these other speakers talk about their sides of entrepreneurship. And I've grown as a person already listening to Dr. Wright and Coach Cordell and everyone else. And so I greatly appreciate this opportunity. And also to connect with you again, Dave. It's always a pleasure. And
I appreciate that.
And then I guess we're following a trend here. I'm going to leave everything with what I say at the end of my podcast, Scar Bearers. Pass on perfection and go for greatness.
Say it again. Say it again. I got to hear it again.
Pass on perfection and go for greatness.
My goodness. My goodness gracious. I love it. I love it. Hey, you know what? First, I want to thank all of you for being here. I appreciate your time, your energy, your effort. It means a lot. And you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. And I appreciate it out of the kindness of my heart. Before we leave off, I'm just excited about the sponsors. We got sponsors, you guys. This is legit. To me, I'm like, these micro goals, and then all of a sudden, boom, a big goal comes, and we got sponsors. Now, it wasn't without effort. It wasn't without a lot of effort in calling and running around trying to get people, but we have Right Place TV, hosted by and created by Dr. Wright. We also have Phelan Leadership Academy, and Earl Phelan is a friend of mine now, and actually he might think it's weird. I started calling him my mentor just all of a sudden because he owns 5 schools and a university, and so I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I'm not there yet. I might be retired in Greece, but I don't have 5 schools and and the university. And then CASA of New Jersey or Ocean County, which Jody is the one who connected me initially with Arian, of the executive director of CASA there. And I'm excited about a new program that I am going to be launching with New Jersey as well as CASA of Ocean County for kids that are incarcerated. So youth that are in detention, and it's called Inspire to Aspire Youth Empowerment Program. And this is going to be big and change a lot of lives, employ a lot of people. It's just amazing. When I think about it, I almost tear up because I know the impact that these kids need. When I say need, they absolutely need it. 70% of prisoners that are adults in prison have come from the system, either a youth in foster care or youth in detention. And 70% is on the low end. It goes up to 85% in some places, like in California. Can you imagine 85%? So take 8 out of 10 kids and say, you're destined for prison. And so that's what this program is all about. And I'm excited to implement it in New Jersey. If you're watching this and you think I should implement it, or we should implement it in your state, make sure that you reach out to me. With that, we'll end. I'm going to wish everyone an amazing evening, day. It's 12 o'clock here, mid 12:30. in the morning now in Greece. So I'm off to bed. And I think everyone else is going to wind their days down pretty soon here. So I love you all. And thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Okay.
Buddy.
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Boom.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
guys are the
Thank you,
same, please.
Sherry.